Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I've got another weekly recap for us. At this point, we are 11 weeks out from the North American Championships, so we're starting to get into some serious prep work, and things are going to start getting heavy pretty fast. So up first, we've got day one work. This was 4 sets of 6 with 540 pounds on safety bar 2 count pause squats. I will say, definitely nice to get down to 6s for these. Feeling some difficulty. This is the day that fries my back for sure, between these and the snatch grip RDLs, but in a good way. I feel like this is going to turn out well once we end up tapering at the end of this block and hitting some big numbers going into NAPFs. So definitely good for some more progression here. It's getting difficult, but in a good way for sure. Still don't have any knee soreness or hip soreness, which is great, especially for pushing squats a little bit. And then that was immediately followed by snatch grip RDLs. As I had mentioned, this was, I believe, 4 sets of 10, and we'll just have to count how many reps I do here, because I'm going off of the top of my head. If it was 8s or 10s, I think we're still at 10s with 520 pounds. These are getting more and more challenging. I feel like we are pushing deadlift a little bit more, and my back just in general. So 6, just counting these. Okay, so yeah, that was 8s, not 10s. But overall, nothing too difficult. Should be able to keep progressing these. That back fatigue definitely does come around at the end of the week and makes my competition squats and competition deadlifts move a little bit more sluggish, but not too bad. We did have 5 sets of 4. Or no, 5 sets of 3. Geez, I cannot count my reps this week. With 410 pounds, which is great progress on the bench. Back over the 400 pound mark and 4 plates. And then that was immediately followed up by my sets on the incline, which we were up to 325 pounds. I will say with incline bench, the difficulty gets up there quick, right? So we're down to 4 sets of 7. And I feel like I'm just kind of inching the weight up because that fatigue starts to hit quickly with those heavier weights. Now we're on to day 3. So this is on Thursday. And here I have the heavy hex bar deadlifts. We actually did something that we don't normally do, where the weight went back down, but the reps came back up. So I kind of like that pivot. And we were back to 605 for this day for 4 sets of 8, which actually surpassed the 8s that we had gotten to before we dropped the reps to 6s, if that kind of makes sense. So it was a deload in a sense, but we kept the difficulty up because of the higher reps. I will say overall, these moved well. It was nice to have the lighter weights. You'll notice I had a poor grip on the bar. I was a little too far backward and the bar was leaning back, so I just readjusted there. This bar is really sharp, which is part of the reason why I just touch and go for those. Overall, no complaints. This certainly fries my posterior chain for my day 4, as we'll talk about. Same thing with the squat machine, or the lever squat, whatever you want to call it. Kind of getting up there in weight, but I'm enjoying that movement. Here we just have 3 count tempo benches on the way down, and then it's a 0 tempo on the way back up. Excuse me. I have been a little sick this week, which is a pain in the neck. I've talked about it in a few of my videos, but it's just a head cold, so just working through that, no problem. Those benches were easy, as you kind of noticed. Now we're getting into the squat machine, which I'm up to 5 plates and a 25. So things are getting heavier. I've mentioned this before. I don't really know what is considered heavy for this machine. Considering we started with 2 plates and a 25 for sets of 10, and to be up to 5 plates and a 25, I feel like that's some serious progress. And I'm starting to feel challenged on the sets, which is good. And it definitely fatigues my quads and hips leading into day 4, which we have right here. This was a 4x3 with 655 pounds. So we're creeping up there in weight. We've dropped the reps 2 weeks in a row. I would imagine that's because we're kind of just setting up for the heavier weights and getting ready for this peak for North Americans in August. Once again, I started feeling better and better as these sets went on, right? So this was, I believe, my 3rd set of 4, and it moves pretty well. Early on in the sets, I was getting a little bit on my toes. Hips are kind of beat up from day 3 because of the deadlifts, especially. So I tend to favor my quads, and that can end up with me getting on my toes a little bit. But overall, nothing too bad. Definitely some room to progress on those if we want to, and keep marching forward. Then we have deadlifts, which this was a 4x6. We've stuck with the 6s on deadlifts. Everything's been progressing well, and we're up to 605 pounds here. So kind of coming off of a day 3 where I deadlift heavy for a lot of reps. It's nice to hit this for relatively easy 6s. I would call all of these in that RPE 7-ish range, or so if you want to call it. So plenty of room to continue to progress, just like the squat. Things are starting to feel strong again. With the bench here, I set up the bands a little bit differently with the bamboo bench, and it resulted in it being much more difficult. You'll notice I doubled up the 25s instead of using a 35 and a 10, and that really made it much more difficult. So I only progressed 5 pounds, even though we only did sets of 4 this week. And then we rounded out the week with football bar bench, finally on to 3 plates, which by my estimate is probably something like 325 pounds. And this was a 4x7. This movement definitely makes my chest extra sore, and I'm feeling it right now. So between this and the tempo bench and my regular bench day with incline, everything's really starting to roll as far as bench progress goes. Okay, so that kind of does it for the week. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you like the video, as always, please like and subscribe. It means a lot to me. And until next time, happy lifting.